Hey, let's get to know the new head coach for your Austin Spurs, Will Voigt.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey everybody, this is Nathan Ray Clark from Criminal Minds and Modern Family, and you are listening to Locked On Spurs, hosted by Victor Wembanyama's new best friend, Jeff Garcia.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs, right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. I am glad to have you back. Hope everybody have a great weekend. Hey, short week. If I don't get to see you tomorrow, happy 4th of July. So, yeah. By the way, everybody, we have yourself a very special treat right here on Locked On Spurs. The Austin Spurs recently made some news by hiring new head coach Will Voigt. Yeah, he's also a former video coordinator with the Spurs back in the early 2000s. He is on today's episode of Locked On Spurs. But before we go forward, just a quick note, he could not do a video interview. He could only do audio. Why? They just finished practice, so he was in no way, shape, form, or manner to be ready for the camera. So after this little quick intro, we'll have Coach Voigt on, but it will just be audio only. But yeah, the Austin Spurs, they're probably going to be much more needed now that the rebuild is fully underway moving forward. Oh, sure, maybe Wemby may not go there. He may show up just to make an appearance in the crowds. But for the other purposes of the rebuild, wouldn't be surprised if Blake Wesley's in Austin next year. Malachi may have a cup of tea there. Sidi Sissoko, he may show up there in San Antonio. And plus, two, the Spurs have a great track record of building players out in the G League out in Cedar Park, Texas, with the Austin Spurs. And perhaps, as Wemby, begins his career, the Spurs team could go back to the way it was when they were dominating, how heavily they relied on the G League and to send players there. I mean, during the Tim Duncan era, they didn't really, they need to draft a lot of young assets. Now they got a lot of young assets that they would like to see develop. That's where the Austin Spurs come in. Look at their track record. Boban Marjanovic. Yes, Boban was an Austin Spur. Danny Green, DeJounte Murray spent a lot of time there. Keldon Johnson was there. You look at Derek White, Eastern Conference champ. He was in Austin Spurs system. And as I've gotten familiar with the Austin Spurs system, gotten to know past coaches, their staff, let me tell you this, they really allow their players to learn the ropes, allow them to make their mistakes, and so they're NBA ready, whether it be in San Antonio or in another NBA club. So that's why it's very key as the rebuild continues. The Austin Spurs are going to be following along that path. And Coach Will Voigt, you'll hear in a while, did say that he understands that this team, this franchise is in a rebuild. So, yeah, I mean, look, if you get a chance to go out to see an Austin Spurs game, I highly recommend it. I've gone to a few. They're very fun. But what are you going to hear from Coach Voigt? Well, you're going to hear him talk about his incredible path to the NBA. You're going to hear about some of the advice that he's gotten, not just from Coach Popovich, from guys like Brett Brown, Mike Brown, former coaches with the Spurs staff. And some fun with Coach Voigt, particularly perhaps a Austin Spurs theme night in his honor. You'll love to hear that and more. But yeah, we're thankful that the Austin Spurs allowed Will Voigt to come on Locked On Spurs to talk about what he's also expecting from the team next year and his coaching staff. He talks about a lot that I think you're going to be really interested in on this episode of Locked On Spurs. So yeah, there's part of my monologue right there, everybody. The Austin Spurs system could be quite valuable moving forward. Wouldn't be surprised if you see Dominic Barlow, if he is re-signed with the Spurs, or they bring up other guys at training camp that make us surprised, be stashed away in the Austin Spurs system. At this point in the Spurs rebuild, it's all hands on deck. They need all the talent they can have. They got themselves a damn good one with Wemby. They got some other good ones with Keldon and Devin and Trey Jones. But, they can find a diamond in the rough here, as we've seen in the past, a la Brent Forbes. Remember Gary Neal? Yeah, all those guys. They can find a gem that can add to the rebuild to quicken it. And I think the Austin Spurs system and Coach Voigt are going to be coming in handy in that aspect. So before we bring on Coach Voigt, today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. First-time users can get themselves 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. That's PrizePicks.com, promo code Locked On. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in Coach Will Voigt, your new head coach of the Austin Spurs.
Hello there.
All right, so let's go and bring in our special guest. He is the new Austin Spurs head coach. His name is Will Voigt. Coach, welcome to Locked On Spurs.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
First of all, congratulations. Before we dive into your path, your grind to where you're at now, tell us about the new gig. Tell us how you found out. The fans are desperate to know.
Well, I feel pretty fortunate. Obviously Pop has been a mentor for me throughout my coaching career, and both he and Brett Brown reached out to gauge my interest in the job, and obviously I jumped at the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is a great opportunity to work again with the San Antonio Spurs. For those who do not know, Coach Voigt, he spent quick cup of coffee, a couple of years with the Spurs back in 1999 to 2001 as the team's video coordinator, but he's back. And Coach, again, congratulations. But that expression, the grind, the hustle, I think your resume defines that. I mean, your coaching career has taken you from San Antonio to Los Angeles to China and everywhere else in between. I mean, your coaching experience is so, it's just so dense with variety. I mean, you must have learned a lot about dealing with different players from all over the world, and you're going to bring that to Austin.
Yeah, I've been really fortunate where this game has taken me. I probably would have never been to any of these countries were it not for basketball. But you kind of alluded to it. It really helped me develop my coaching, especially with communicating with players. You go to different cultures, different languages, and it really forces you, I think, to kind of strip away and get to the essential of what you're trying to teach or what you're trying to say. So it's been a great experience for me, not only just, to see the world, but I think I've become a better coach because of it.
Yeah, and everybody who's tuning in right now, when Coach talks about it, when I mention it, he has traveled the world. He has traveled the world. So these are some of the stops along Coach Voigt's coaching career. You have the Chinese Basketball Association with the Brave Dragons. You have coaching time in Nigeria with the AfroBasket 2015. You have the Bakersfield Jam of the NBA G League, and even at UT Texas Longhorns. My goodness, Coach. I mean, I feel like when Pop and Brett Brown asked you to take the position, it was almost a no-brainer. Your thoughts? This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Hey, you want to go to PrizePicks right now? How does it work? Well, you pick 2 to 6 players that go on to score more than their PrizePick projection. You can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. You don't compete against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. They have projections on any sport that you watch. NBA, NFL, MLB, PGA, college football, men's basketball, Euro basketball, women's college basketball, cricket, MMA, boxing, and so much more. Yeah, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. Super easy, safe and fast withdrawals. Currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Download the PrizePicks app right now or go to PrizePicks.com to sign up to play daily fantasy sports. First-time users, listen up. You get yourself a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. Basically, if you deposit 100, PrizePicks gives you 100. You deposit 50, PrizePicks gives you 50. You get the idea. Don't forget to enter promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100.
Yeah, I mean, again, I've just been really lucky. I've had a lot of opportunities, of course, coming from the Spurs video room and the tradition of guys who've come out of here has helped me tremendously. And I just feel blessed that I've had, that many teams give me a chance to coach their team. And, I don't know that I could have planned how it would bring me full circle back to here, but I'm thankful for all the stops along the way.
One notable stop along your way is a college by the name of Pomona. Is that the same one that Coach Popovich coached at, Coach Voigt?
Yeah, it sure is. I was there after Pop's time, and actually also, Mike Budenholzer also went to Pomona College,
Sure.
and we're staggered. So Bud came in right after Pop left. I came in right after Bud left. But it's cool to have a little tradition at Pomona College associated with the NBA. Not bad for a little school in Claremont, California.
No, not bad at all. I mean, from Popovich to Bud to you. I mean, seriously, it's like a great coaching factory out of Pomona. So keep it up, Pomona. Keep on doing that. And the thing about your experience that you're bringing to Austin is not only the well-traveled resume and of course the stock that you come from the Spurs video coordinator for all the way to the G League and then some, is that you actually have championship experience. In the ABA, I believe you won back-to-back ABA championships with the Frost Heaves. Tell us about that experience winning the title.
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible. Jeff, if you want to win a bar bet, there are two ABA teams in history to win back-to-back championships, and it's the Indiana Pacers and the Vermont Frost Heaves. So
there you go.
I'm pretty sure nobody would have known that answer.
No.
But yeah, I was really lucky. I was coaching in Norway at the time, and looking at a way to get back. My father, unfortunately, was diagnosed with cancer, so I was really trying to figure out a way to get back into back to the U.S. And within 2 weeks of his diagnosis, I caught word that Vermont was going to start their very first professional basketball team. So Alexander Wolf, who at the time was a writer for Sports Illustrated, was starting the team with his wife Vanessa, and it was going to be kind of a reality piece for the magazine. So it was a no-brainer to try and get it, and I was fortunate enough to be hired.
Yeah, and I'm glad they did, or I'm sure they're glad they did, is winning those back-to-back ABA titles. It's funny you mentioned the ABA. The ABA still continues. I don't think many people know that. There's actually a team in San Antonio. There's still an ABA team in San Antonio. It's a small league. I think Johnny Moore is the head coach of that club.
I believe it. Joe Newman was who purchased the rights and kind of revived the league back in my day, and I'm not sure if Joe's still involved or not. But yeah, I mean, it's just another one of these minor leagues that's kind of survived through the time.
Yeah, the kids nowadays, they love to talk about the grind, putting in that work, not taking any shortcuts. I think a lot of times you look at players, that make it up from the G League or undrafted, and they become great key players in the league. But sometimes it goes to coaches too, and I think you define that, from where you've gone and started and traveled globally is a testament to you and your never give up mentality. Is that something that you want to impart to this upcoming Austin Spurs team?
Well, I mean, I think definitely a work ethic is something I can hopefully instill on not only the players but the staff. But I don't see it as a grind. I mean, I'm blessed to be doing something that I love. Every minute I spend in the gym or thinking about a game plan or whatever it might be, I consider myself fortunate. So whether I'm doing that in China or Germany or Austin, it's always been fun and it's been exciting for me. So, there was never a deterrent because of that. I love coaching and I'll do it anywhere, anytime.
Yeah, when I put out on social media that the Austin Spurs have announced you as the new head coach, there was a lot of great feedback. A lot of people were, the clap emojis or, thumbs up emojis. It was interesting too. One fan actually commented saying like, wow, what a journey. So that told me that there were some fans out there that already were aware of your coaching path. So I think that's good to know, because as you take the reins of the head coach at Austin Spurs, people can appreciate your journey as well as what you're about to impart to the team. with that work ethic, as you highlighted. Once again, we're talking with the new Austin Spurs head coach. He is Will Voigt right here on Locked On Spurs, and we're getting to know him ahead of next season. Coach, you mentioned Popovich, Brett Brown, they approached you, engaged your interest and everything, but those are some pretty good NBA coaches there. What have you learned from being around Brown and Pop and many, perhaps in other NBA or just coaches in general?
Yeah, I mean, I've been really, really fortunate with the people who've been put into my life, and obviously, it starts with Pop. I mean, Mike Budenholzer, Mike Brown, Joe Prunty was in the video room with me, taught me a lot. I mean, the names go on and on.
Sure.
And you just try to be a sponge around him. Brett, I've learned a ton from as well. I mean, he's had a similar path in that, he kind of left the US for a while and did a lot of international things and then came back. And, he's obviously somebody that, hopefully I could emulate in my own professional career. But, you just try to take from everyone and apply it to your own beliefs and your own strengths. So I can never be, I can never be Pop or be Coach Brown. I have to be Will Voigt, but certainly there are lessons learned from those great coaches that I try to apply every day and how I do it.
Can I take a wild guess here? Was the best advice Pop ever has given you is probably a wine list? The best wines. Was that what it got me? What can you say about some of the best advice that he's given you?
I mean, I think where Pop's incredible is his feel for people, and kind of seeing the forest through the trees. That's something I try to do. Again, I'll never be as good as him at those things, but just understanding that, having a sense of humility about the position and understanding. You're there to serve others and trying to connect with those people and get to know them as big as any, timeout or play you might try out. So that's something that I've really carried with me and I've tried to get better, as I got more and more experience as a coach.
Are you a little surprised that he's still coaching?
I mean, he's the best there ever was. So I hope he continues until the wheels fall off. So I just consider myself lucky that, I get to be under his tutelage some more. And I think everybody around here feels the same way. Obviously with Victor being here now, I mean, the opportunity to learn from him. I think we're all just grateful for, every season he continues to do it.
Speaking of coaches in your life, you have a set of new coaches that are going to be joining you out in Austin or Cedar Park next season. Talk to us about the coaching staff that you're going to be teaming up with next season, from Pierre Parker, of course, obviously to you and so many others. What are you looking forward to as far as working with them?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited. I knew Willis a little bit just from kind of being around the Spurs in the past, and obviously he came out of the video room as well. So there's a shared brotherhood from that. And then Pierre, I met for the first time here this week. Obviously knew his brother Tony and was there when we drafted him. But looking forward to getting to know Pierre more. Pierre has got a background in youth development with Asvel, the EuroLeague team in France that Tony owns and operates. And then Jesse Childs is kind of a funny story. So Jesse actually played for me briefly in Bakersfield. Wow. So there's a history there. But Sydney Wood's been here. She's going to be on our basketball operations side. So getting to know her as well, and just excited to get started with all of it.
Thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen every single day. You guys are the everydayers. Guess what? Tomorrow's show likely about Wemby. Well, and also the Spurs' latest moves now that free agency has begun. Look forward to that and more on this episode or tomorrow's episode of Locked On Spurs. Hey, I want to talk to you about Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee. Look, if you want some of the best tasting coffee in San Antonio, some of the best lattes, best brews, best Red Bull infused Lightning Bolt series, yeah, that sounds pretty intense. You want to go to Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee right now. Located at 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive, open every day, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can't go wrong out there. It's getting so much popularity. As a matter of fact, over 300 5-star reviews. Cannot be wrong. They don't have dairy alternatives as well. They also have the Alien with Wemby in town. They have a drink in honor of him. It's Red Bull, kiwi, red apple, all mixed together. It's a great tasting drink. Several people have tried it. They say they love it. And of course, one that's close to my heart too is called the OG. Basically, it's the Orange Julius back in the 80s. Well, it's back only at Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee. I was proud that they tapped my shoulder to name it. Of course, I called it the OG because, us OGs. But nevertheless, go try it. People love it. And look at that menu. So many drinks. You want to take it easy. They have non-caffeine drinks. They have it all. You can find them on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. I mean, name a platform. They're there at Mudslingers SATX. Life is too short for bland coffee. Yeah, it's like the off season, quote unquote, but NBA and just basketball in general is year round at this point. You look at the Austin Spurs, and perhaps in the last few years, the leaning on the development of the Austin Spurs probably has cooled a bit. Obviously it was a pandemic that happened, and the Spurs were in a rebuild. Gone are the days where the Spurs could draft a player and then just stash them overseas or stash them in Austin for a couple of years. But perhaps that could start changing back up again, where the Austin Spurs are going to be heavily leaned on as a new era of Spurs basketball is here. How are you approaching that? That because this team is in a rebuild, that perhaps the Austin Spurs G League system is going to be really tapped into as this rebuild is underway.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll be an important resource in the overall development of these young guys. The game reps that they can get with us, I think, are invaluable. And obviously, trying to instill the same teaching that they'll get when they're in San Antonio. So, sure. You alluded to it. It's an exciting time right now with all these young players coming in. And we understand that, we have an important role with that. So when our two-way guys and draft picks or whoever it might be come up to Austin, we want to make sure that we're utilizing their time there as best as possible. So hopefully we can look back and say, hey, we helped develop, whoever it might be, sure. When they're hoisting a trophy 3 or 4 years from now.
Yeah, crossing fingers that does happen. I spoke with last season's head coach, Coach Patar, and we're discussing how fans really shouldn't, I want to say, take with a grain of salt, but more like understand what the impact or the goal of the G League is about. In this case, the Austin Spurs, a player has a high turnover ratio. Says, well, maybe that's because they're trying to teach them the position of being a point guard, And I think that's what needs to be driven to the fans is that as the new season comes up for the Austin Spurs with you at the helm, that development is key. So it's almost as if like they're allowed to make all the mistakes as they probably can, get out of their system before making it to an NBA team, whether that be in San Antonio or elsewhere, Coach.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely value in that. I mean, obviously, it's not like flush
this go crazy. Yeah, go crazy. Yeah, but it's just a chance for them to, get out of the comfort zone. Is that a better way to approach it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to understand in their development, there's going to be some bumps, and that's how you learn and improve, right? That's how you can get better. Is kind of analyzing where you went wrong and try to improve from that. But also the game reps, the game reps in the G League, I think are where the greatest value lie. you can drill and do all these things, but when you get into that live setting, it's different. And I think that's where our guys can come up to Austin and start applying some of the things that maybe they had developed down here in San Antonio in that game setting. And like you said, there's going to be mistakes that come with that. And we understand that. And that's part of what we're there for.
Look, everybody listening in right now, I'm not saying anything Norris coach. We're going to make that very clear. Okay. But how exciting would it be if for some reason Wemby were to take a few games out in Austin? That'd be awesome. I mean, especially for the fans. Yeah. We're not saying anything. We're not saying anything, everybody. Okay. I'm going to make that. I have Austin Spurs PR listening in, so they'll probably get mad at me or chimed in by now. But nevertheless, I mean, I think it's just an exciting time right now for the Spurs because there's a possibility that could happen. It couldn't be Wemby. It could also be CD Sissoko. It could be Malachi Branham. It could be Blake Wesley. And I mean, just the opportunity is there for fans in Austin to experience the development with this team, just as the fans in San Antonio are.
Yeah, no, I think you have a great point there.
Yeah.
Obviously, we would love to have a Wemby night in Austin, even if that was just him coming to watch a game. But we know that there's going to be a core of young players that need to develop over these next couple of years, and whatever role we can play in that's going to be exciting. But I feel pretty strongly in saying that fans that come to Austin games this year will look down the road and be like, oh man, I saw that guy play when he was in the G League, and whoever that guy might be, who knows, but for sure, I think that there'll be players that will come out of Austin and end up being important to the Spurs' success in the long run.
Yeah, for me, when I do catch a Austin Spurs game next season, I'm going to say, you know what? I was there when Coach Voigt was on the sidelines. That's what I'm going to say, Coach.
You might be the only one saying that, Jeff.
Once again, we're talking with the new Austin Spurs head coach. He is Will Voigt, and we're getting to know him, his thoughts, his approach as he's ready to take on the reins. Now, everybody, he's a little bit short on time, so we're going to have to kind of speed this up a little bit now. But, Coach, you look at what the San Antonio Spurs and, of course, the Austin Spurs as well are trying to do now. There's a push to have kind of a geographic fan base, not necessarily just in San Antonio. Last year it was San Antonio games in Austin. You see them reaching for the Valley now. You're joining in this team at a moment where they're trying to expand the fan base. So with that, what can fans look forward to, whether they're in Austin or San Antonio or in Bernie, just to make the trek up to Cedar Park? What can we expect?
Well, you've talked about it a lot. I think this is just a really exciting time with the organization. Obviously with Victor, that brings a lot of excitement with him, but it's a rebuild, and I think everybody knows that, and everybody knows the incredible history that's already here. And I think it's a great time, if you're not already a Spurs fan, it's a great time to start following the team, because these are the early days of what hopefully will lead to more championships. So to get to know these players in an intimate setting up in Austin and kind of watch their growth and development, I think would be pretty exciting.
Absolutely. And of course, even from the coaching staff point of view, whether it be one of your assistants or just you yourself, I mean, that branch of the tree, everybody talks about the pop coaching branch, but there's also the Austin Spurs coaching branch too, whether it be Jenkins, who's out in Memphis right now, Quinn Snyder, the list goes on and on and on. And it just to know that there's a rich history with the Austin Spurs, from the coaches that we mentioned, even to the players. I mean, Boban Marjanovic was an Austin Spur, everybody. Danny Green was an Austin Spur. Derek White was an Austin Spur. DeJounte Murray, Lonnie Walker. The list goes on and on and on. So, and I think that's why I want to kind of reinforce with fans to make the trip up to Cedar Park. You could be seeing, the next, big star in the NBA, or that key role player, or the next possible head coach in the NBA, Will Voigt. But Coach, I know you're short on time. I know you got to go. But what would be your message to the fan base right now, and any thoughts that you want to share with them?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've really summed it up perfectly. The beauty of the G League is you get to see these star players up close, and oftentimes you even get to know them as people in that setting. And you watch them grow up and develop, and some of them, like the names you just mentioned, turn into great NBA players. So it's a really unique experience, and I think right now it's also a unique time with the Spurs and the type of players that are going to come through Austin. So I encourage everybody to come check it out, especially those that maybe have never seen an Austin Spurs game before.
You mentioned a dream scenario where there's a Wemby night, in Austin. I'm waiting for the Will Voigt night. That's what I'm going to wait for. I need the Will Voigt night. It's going to be Will Voigt theme night in Austin, Cedar Park, Texas, at the HEB Center. But nevertheless, they'll have probably dollar beers. How about that? Would that be a good trade away?
Well, dollar beers and probably like free like maps, right? Like global maps handed out to everybody.
Let me tell you, Coach. The Austin Spurs, they really put on some fun theme nights. I mean, I would get the releases, or the Austin Spurs PR, Lauren, she'll email me and the list of things that are like theme nights. And I'll email her back and be, okay, this is a good idea. This is funny. This is a good one. I think they had like car freshener night. Like, to me, I'm like sold. I'm going to go to Austin. I want to go to car freshener night. Once again, he is Will Voigt. He is the new head coach of the Austin Spurs. Coach, hopefully this is not the last time that you and I speak. And I'd love to check back with you sometime during the season. I appreciate your time for joining us right here on Locked On Spurs.
Thanks for having me, Jeff. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely.